Hello everyone, welcome to Startup Academy. So, in today's lecture, we shall be talking about the first phase of nationalism. In yesterday's class, we talked about the growth of nationalism, and in today's class, we shall be discussing about the first phase. So, it has been divided into the phases, and this is the first phase. So, talking about the first phase, we have okay, you can write it as first phase of nationalism in India. So, moving on to the main topic, we have the starting date that is 1885 to 1905, and in this, we shall be discussing about the moderate uh, nationalist, the name, their relevant योगदान जो उन्होंने दिया है, that also we shall be discussing. So, moving on to our main topic, we have first the introduction. Introduction tells us about the basically the period when it got started. So, it got started between 1885 to 1905. So, 1905 has been marked important. क्यों? क्योंकि यहाँ पर you will be able to see partition of Bengal. And when we talk about 1919, these 2 years are quite important because 1919 hold its relevance for Jallianwala Bagh tragedy. All right. So अभी के लिए तो 1919 is not worth mentioning. So this is the first phase. So whenever the question will come, you will have to explain what is the first phase and the beginning of it. So beginning, it started from 1885 and will end with 1905. Therefore, it is also known as moderate phase. So during this phase, what happened was the peaceful considerations were there. That means we would be providing the petitions, we would be giving the documentary form, everything will be converted into the documents, will be presented peacefully in front of the British so that the British government understand what Indian public want and they can give into our demands. But since we were working through a very official manner, in a very official manner, so this was not quite expected. Therefore, what happened was another phase came that was quite brutal, और आप बोल सकते हो कि that was extremist phase where people believe in getting what they want, no matter which step to follow, how to follow, and where to follow, where to start. They just wanted what they wanted to have. So the moderate ones were very peaceful. They followed every documentary or official method so as to grab what they wanted. But British, being British government, being British, they did not allow, they did not give into all their demands, but few of them were given. So we have the constitutional methods were followed, peaceful agitation and dialogue with British government to secure political and economic reforms were there. When we talk about the foundations, there were so many foundations, in order to awake the political consciousness. We can say that there were so many public who came on forward with so many leaders. So major leaders, if you want to remember, you can write them down as Dada Bhai. Then you have G.K. Gokhale. We will study about them in the upcoming things, what they did for us. So we have W.C. Banerjee. Like this, these were the prominent leaders. Also, we have Satyendra Nath Banerjee. Shah Ghosh we had. So these were the prominent leaders of that time who had given so much, who had done so much for the public. Also, we had R.C. Dutt and Mahadev Govind Ranade. They were also the reformer and most renowned reformer they were, and He is Mehta. Mehta. ठीक है. So these were the known rulers, reformers of that period. When we talk about the political factors, so political factor was the basic thing that government in uh, in the British government, Indian public was not allowed. The British government that was formed in India, the Indian public was not allowed to participate in that. So centralized and autocratic administration was there. Obviously, the racial discrimination was followed, as we talked about the Ilbert Bill in yesterday's class. So Ilbert Bill was also introduced, due to which there were few controversies related to the Europeans and the Indian public. Then we had repressive laws like Vernacular Press Act. That means only the press, that is the newspaper produced by the British government, or the news that will be in favor of British, shall be uh, promoted, or shall be, we can say, shall be distributed among the public. And all the news, or containing all the wrong information, or say the actual information related to what actually they are doing to the people of India, shall be shall be taken back, or we can say needs to be hidden or kept under the wraps. So all these things were to be followed. So this was about Vernacular Press Act. When we talk about the economic factors, yesterday as we talked about the drain of wealth is directly related to your draining the India's wealth to, we can say, to UK, Britain, due to which we can see so much of loss in India. That is, the economic crisis were there. Commercialization of agriculture, decline of handicrafts, industries, heavy land revenue and taxation, and recurring families and poverty. Why was poverty arising? Because many goods were taken from India at very low price, due to which things used to come back to India in the increased price, and people were forced to buy those, we can say, the costly or the expensive items at very high price, obviously, by paying extra taxes, and the public was not given that much return. So that was the basic thing. When we talk about the social and intellectual factors, we have these factors are all those factors that we had already discussed in yesterday's class. So we are just giving them a quick revision. The social factor says that is the spread of Western education was there, and rise of educated middle class. People started to get to know about more details politically, both economically and socially as well. How this was introduced by introducing the Western education among the public. People were sent to schools, they were taught what Western education is and how to promote it, how to get into it, how you can get to all those posts and things. So they studied, they grabbed all the things so that they can make India free of British rule. Then we have religious reforms were there, and the growth of print media and public opinion. They helped the public to make their own opinions and to spread them. How will one spread one's opinion? That is basically the communication we talk about. And when we talk about communication, we say that one can communicate, since telephones were not there, so only news, or we can say the press, was the basic thing by which one could have communicated his or her ideas and could have spread his or her ideas among the public. Then we have the formation of Indian National Congress. So question can directly come, who made Indian National Congress, or when was Indian National Congress formed, or like that. So the foundation day is 28 December 1885. Then where was it formed? It was formed in Bombay by AOU, and first president was W.C. Banerjee. The first session venue was at Sanskrit College, and initial members were 72 delegates. Delegates refers to the 72 people actually attended the session. The Indian National Congress provided a common national platform for political discussion and gradually emerged as leading organization of the freedom struggle. So this was the laying the basic, we can say, the basic foundation where one could come and take stand for one's own nation. Then we have the nature and the methods of moderates, how they, what they decided, how to follow, what to follow, and how to achieve things what they had already in their minds. So coming on to this, they said that faith in British, they, what they believed was, they said that we have blind faith in British. We believe that British will do justice to us. That is, they were loyal to the crown, and emphasis was on nothing but the constitutionalism. That means we would be working according to the constitution. If they want us to present our, we can say, our prayers or petitions in form of the documents, we would be providing them the documents. If they want us to get them signed by the older people or the new people or the moderate people, will get it done, and let it take how much time it will take, but we shall abide ourselves by the rules. So this was their basically methodology. So you can mark this as important because this will help you to answer most of your questions, so you can mark it as important. Okay, then we have the methods of struggle, what they decided, how the struggle actually proceeded till this stage. So first thing was nothing but the petitions and the memorials. Petitions are nothing but the prayers, the जो प्रार्थना होती है or whatever the demands they had in their mind, they wrote it on the paper and presented in front of the British government. Another thing is resolutions in Congress sessions. So the Congress session was created, and what they decided in that was to be taken as a resolution that by the end of this month we shall able to conquer this, by the end of this month we shall able to achieve this at least. So like this, these were their resolutions. Then we have the deputations to England, public meetings and speeches, newspapers and journals. So everything was done peacefully. Therefore, Vernacular Press Act came later on when everything went on wild. So wild, that means when the public decided to reveal everything about the British people. Then we have their approach is often described as appeal, pray, or petition. So that is the way they were given. Like prayer came from that side, a petition came, or an appeal came. Like when we talk in terms of judicial manner, we say that appeal has come, or we say that the petition has come. So like this, the things happen or are taken. Then when we talk about the major leaders of this session, we have the few major leaders, namely these. So you can mark them as important. Okay. Coming to the economic and political ideologies, drain theory. What is drain theory? Actually, drain theory was basically given by Dadabhai Naoji, and it explained in a very systematic manner ki how the India's wealth, India, the populous country, has been drained, we can say, like has been taken all its wealth and has been transferred to another country or another state. This has been systematically explained in it, a book namely as Drain Theory, or you can say Drain of Wealth. Drain of Wealth. Okay. Then we have economic nationalism. Economic nationalism referred to economic rationalism. That means we were the basic sellers. We were the ones who sold the raw materials to the British government into their industries actually, out of which they used to make most of the profits and used to return the good or the good product that was made out of raw materials they took from us, and the returned product used to be of very high value, and that high value was not worth the product obviously, but people were forced to pay for that amount or for that particular product. So that was the basic thing. Okay, let's say raw material. Raw material, say cotton. Cotton was grown in Indian farms or Indian fields, say at cost of rupees 100, let's say just 100, and was sold to British at rupees 80. This was the selling price. Now, everything of 80 rupees went directly to Britain. When it went to Britain, Britain gave that product to its industries, and that again returned to India. When it returned to India, Indian public was forced to buy the article worth, say, rupees 120 at rupees 500. So you can estimate the amount of profit the Britishers were making. So this is what I was trying to say. Okay, coming back to our topic. This was the nationalism in economic terms. So when we say about the political liberalism said that the moderates wanted nothing but the civil rights, rule of law, and the responsible government. Responsible government refers to the part of government that will hear to the general public and not only to the officers, or will not discriminate on basis of like racial discrimination, that is on basis of caste, creed, sex, and anything of that sort. Then we come to the major demands of moderate, what they actually demanded, what their petitions consisted of. So the actual demands were expansion of legislative council, that is Indianization of civil services. Expansion of legislative council, that means to include the people, Indian people, while making the laws. Legislature is nothing but including Indian people, include Indians while making laws for Indians. And as you all know, Indian public was not allowed to participate in the civil examination because they were not given the high post. So they demanded appearance in civil services. Then freedom of speech and press because of the Vernacular Press Act. This was demanded. This thing was demanded because of Vernacular Press Act. Then they demanded separation of judiciary and executive economic demands, reduction of land revenue. Since land revenue was high, so this was the basic factor by which the Britishers used to drain wealth, and by which many Indians decided to suicide. Then we have the next thing. Next thing, say abolition of salt tax. Salt was also having certain sort of tax, due to which the Satyagraha movement started later on. Then reduction in military expenditure. Why was there military expenditure so much? Military expenditure was so much because world wars were going, world wars were going, and Britishers wanted to conquer most of it. Wanted to conquer most of it, due to which they invested large sum of money in the, we can say, in the military, and the expenditure was increased, the people were forced or drained thoroughly so as to participate in the war, and people participating in the war were none other than but the Indians, because they were brutal killing. Then we have industrial protection, administrative demands were also there, more Indians in administration, local self government, and fair recruitment policies. Policies were very fake during that time because they were basically based on the policy of discrimination, but people wanted that fair recruitment policies must be followed. Then we come to achievement. These were the basic demands. What they had achieved is this: creation of national political platform was there, as they created what? They created Indian National Congress. So, Indian National Congress in the presidentship of W.C. Banerjee with the help of AOU was created. Then we have spread of nationalist ideas. Spread of nationalist ideas occurred via press. Then exposure to colonial exploitation. They got to know how we are being exploited in terms of, by the hands of the Britishers. Then Indian Council Acts 1892, few reforms were also formed. Those are not important for you to remember. Then we have the limitations of moderate phase. When we talk about the limitations of moderate phase, what were they limited? They were basically limited to just staying towards the petition, just presenting their demands in front of the government and not taking further actions. So this was the basic limitation. So they say limited mass participation, because during the session, when they conducted the session, when they conducted this session, only 72 delegates were there and mass participation was not there. So that was also their basic limitation, which said that mass participation was not there. Then we have the urban and elite character. Urban and elite character is nothing that says that presenting just the petition in front of the British government and waiting for their response. Excessive faith in British rule, which was like health, believing that British will give into their demands by just presenting a form of paper on which they have written their demands. Lack of pressure politics, and slow pace of achievements. Slow pace of achievements because presenting something in front of the government, and especially the brutal government, will give you nothing but stress. Then we have the transition to extremists. Since most of the demands were left unmet, therefore the new phase came, that is the phase known as phase of extremists. The phase of extremists met all the limitations made by the moderate public, and here will come the major people who actually believed in achieving what they wanted. They will follow any method in order to achieve what they wanted or what they had already decided. So they would be having large sort of achievements. So this we shall be continuing in next class. Here just the topics have been mentioned, and these topics are quite important. So next lecture shall be important because that will be containing the partition of Bengal, which is basically considered the saddest history ever. The saddest part of the history, that is 1905, that means partition of Bengal. Bengal here was participated in the West and the East Bengal. We have the West one with us. And the people over here are Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, and Bipin Chandpal. These are the major reformers that will try to change the phase. And here we have few questions, so you can go through these questions. We shall be discussing the questions at the end of the session when the most of the topics shall be covered. So till then, keep watching and stay blessed.